MyRacePass, you'll already be able to see many of the webinar recordings there on our YouTube page. This one will join them, and obviously tonight's will join them here in the coming days. So you can go back and review or whatever else there. In addition to that, you can find our help center, mrphelp.com. That has a bunch of information there. So when you find yourself in a situation where you got questions or want to try to review some things in the program, the YouTube page, the help center, those are valuable assets to you. Tonight, we're going to, in this first session here, we're going to configure a season with a focus on sanctioned classes. We're also going to create and add events to your schedule using those sanctioned classes. We'll add traveling series to the schedule so you can see what that looks like. We'll talk about MRP Fantasy and adding prizes to your fantasy groups. And then we'll also do an integration using MRP Live with Orbits. And then for the 7:30 session, we'll integrate with MyLaps. So if you guys use Orbits, we'll kind of show you how to integrate some of those things with Orbits so you can kind of see what that looks like. So we'll jump in here and get started. I'll share my screen, and you'll be able to see what's going on. Let's see if I can find the right one. There we go. Perfect. Okay. I don't know what the holdup is, but unfortunately my internet's moving a little bit slow. So for that, I apologize. If you do have any questions as we're going through this, you can put them in the chat window off to the right. It looks like, is there an easier way to get that list rather than export the driver registrations? You can, you know, I'll show you that, Gay. I'll be able to take you through some of those things. There's a couple of places to get the transponder list. One of them is in the web management screen, so I can show you where that is when we get to that point. But I'll get started here. We're going to start with configuring a season. We're going to take a look at what it takes to add a season and add sanctioned classes into that season. So I've already got a season created here, the 2023 season, because we've created enough to where I'm basically just way out into the future at this point. But if you wanted to create a new season, if you still haven't created your 2021 season, you can hit the drop down here. You can click new season. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to create I'm just going to use 2023. I've already created that. There you'll be able to see the season tracks, season series, and season classes. If you're a series, you'll be able to add all of the tracks that you need to add. If you're a track, you'll be able to add all of the series that you need to add, and then you can both add classes. So that's basically where that comes up. This is kind of the focus on adding classes that I wanted here for tonight. If you just click add class, the first list that you'll see is just a list of all of the classes that have been used at your facility in the past or with your association in the past. So that's basically a historical record. A lot of them you'll be able to just choose from there. But if you need to add classes, there's a couple of different ways to do that. You can just basically go through all your classes, all the classes that exist, and pick what you want. So if you're running unsanctioned modifieds, you can just click unsanctioned modifieds here. However, if your modifieds are sanctioned, or your stock cars or late models or whatever you're running is sanctioned by a sanctioning body, then it is important to choose sanctioned classes here. A lot of our sanctioning bodies will have their own sanction management screen that they log into, and they'll approve the events that you've got and make sure that they are sanctioned or whatever else. But basically the way to notify them via MyRacePass that you're going to run one of their classes sanctioned by them is through the sanction management screen. So if you're running WSOTA classes, you'll pick WSOTA here, and you'll pick what class you're going to run. Works the same way with the other sanctioning bodies. Pretty self-explanatory here. Sanction classes, IMCA, USRA, crate racing, all of those things. So if you're running any of these sanctioned classes, you're going to want to make sure you select the right one. So for those like in the Southeast, we'll run their crate late models, we'll run their modifieds, and we'll run their street stocks, and we'll add that. So any classes that you're running throughout the course of a season, you want to put in here when you're configuring your new season, because when you create events for your schedule, these are these classes that you'll have to choose from during that point. We're not going to give you a full list of all of them. We're going to give you the ones that you add here. So this is one of the important first steps of creating a new season, is make sure you've got the right classes selected, and if they're sanctioned classes, making sure that they're coming from the correct sanctioning body. Adding a series, much the same. You add a series here. Initially, what comes up in this window the first time you click Add Series is a list of series that have been at your racetrack in the past. So for instance, you can see these that are already added here. They're grayed out. The other things that I've had at this racetrack in the past. Or you can go to All Series. And if you go to All Series, then it's just a matter of searching for what you want. So the World of Outlaws series, World of Outlaws late models, those types of things. All Stars exist. Let's see. What's a good... we don't have that one. If you're going to run this late model series, add. This image is coming up here because if I add this series, it requires super late models as the class. So that's what the error is here. If I continue, you'll see that I've got a new class for super late models, and I've got a new series added up here. There are series that are sanctioned, like the Dirt Knights Tour. You can see I had that here last time. The class associated with the Dirt Knights Tour is IMCA modified. So you have to have the sanctioned class IMCA modified in order to add that series. That'll exist with other series as well. But that's a good way to make sure that you've got the right classes and right series. We won't let you add a series unless you have the class associated with it added. If we jump down here to events, I don't have a schedule created yet for 2023, so I will create one now. 2023 schedule. I don't have any events. I'm going to add events. You can add events a couple of different ways here. So I'll add every Saturday in January. Those are my 4 Saturdays. I'll hit next. And then it's a matter of selecting what you want to be part of the event. So if I go to name this event, you can name it whatever you'd like. You can put in additional details, whatever you'd like. You can also have the you can also set times for when the pits open, the gates open, hot laps start, and racing starts. So you can set all those, and then you can select the classes that you want to be part of the event as well. I actually already have an event on this date somewhere. That's why 2 of these are already selected, because this is already in it. So I'm basically adding to that event. But if I hit Add and Next, it brings up the second one. You'll see that the times that I put in here are sticky, so they'll come over with whatever you had before. You can select the classes that you want to be part of this event, Add and Next. So really all you're doing here is renaming your or naming your events, making sure the times are still correct, making sure the classes are correct, and Add and Next, basically. This additional details box that exists here, if a fan is going through the app or going through your website or going through your schedule, anywhere they find it, and they click on the name of the event, which shows up here in their name, what they'll see then after they click is additional details. So this is where you can give them more information about the event that you're running. Perfect. We're here. We're good to go. Awesome. Okay. So we've created 4 events. That's the process of Sanction Classes, making sure you got the right Sanction Classes and adding events to your schedule. Now, if you want to go back and add one of those series to your schedule, click on the date that the series is going to be there, add the series, and you can run, whatever series that you want to run. Now, if I come in here and add a series that has a class required that I didn't add, when I go to add that, it'll give me the error message. IMCA Dirt Knights Tour requires the IMCA modified class. Would you like to add this class now? That's where you can go and hit continue. And there you'll see the class is added as well. And that's the process of adding a series to your schedule. You basically have to know what night the series is coming and then add them after you create the event. So if we're going to do that again here, I don't think I added a series here for this one. Yeah, I did. That's okay. I can add another series. SLMR late models. Perfect. SLMR late models are added along with Dirt Super late models. So that's the process of adding a class that's sanctioned or unsanctioned, creating events in your schedule, selecting the right classes, and then adding a traveling series to your track schedule as well. Those are all pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy things to do. It's just a matter of going to the right place or finding the right things. So just remember, configuration first. That's where you add your classes and your series and your tracks if you're a series. You do configuration steps first, add your schedule, add events to the schedule, and then add the traveling series to those events. So that's kind of the process that you go through. And again, if you decide, hey, I did something wrong, I didn't want this class on that date, you can go in and edit that and remove the class, make them not active or whatever else, and do those things. If you have multiple schedules, you can add your event to multiple schedules at the same time. Multiple schedules would be used for things like calculating more than one points championship, or anything that you need a second points tally for. So if you have like a 3-day event and you're going to line up the third night features based off the points from the first 2 nights, make that its own schedule so the program will tally points those first 2 nights. You can make it inactive so it's still part of your regular track schedule, but you know, it'll be another points calculation. Or if you have like a speed week, you can you know, calculate points for that speed week. Or if you're a series with a national tour and then various traveling series or various regional series beyond that, then you can add multiple schedules for that reason as well. So there's reasons to use multiple schedules, but it pretty much always boils down to multiple points championship calculations. I'm going to jump into fantasy here, fantasy leaderboards. So I'll jump over into some leaderboards that I already have created. Now, for every schedule that you have available and every class that's a part of that schedule, you'll have a leaderboard for that individual purpose. So if you run 5 classes weekly, you have 1 season-long schedule. At the end of that schedule, you'll have a champion for each one of your divisions and an overall champion. So 5 classes would equal 6 champions. If you have a secondary schedule for like a speed week, you'll have class champions for, you know, the entire speed week, and then an overall champion for that speed week. And then each and every individual racing night, you'll obviously have event winners as well. So, and all of those things are created by default. You don't have to put effort or time into creating those. As soon as you start putting entries in the back gate and you create lineups for your first event, that schedule has its own fantasy group created by default. If you want to add prizes, though, this is where you'll need to come in here and add leaderboards in advance. The reason for that is that the leaderboard doesn't get created by default until you start running races. So if you're going to add prizes before the races start, you have to add a leaderboard already. You can see I've already got some leaderboards created here. The process is fairly simple. You can title your leaderboard whatever you want, and that title will show up in the app as well. So if you have a marketing partner or a sponsor who wants to be the title sponsor of your fantasy group for the season or something like that, you can title it, you know, Bob's Garage Fantasy Group, and you know, then your marketing partner gets something of value in the app. Subtitling it, basically, if you subtitle it, it'll just add a second line of subtext in the app for that, but it'll also default to the regular title name if you leave that blank. Select a schedule that you want it to be, or you can select a custom date range. If you select that schedule that you want this fantasy leaderboard created for, the program won't duplicate it on the first night of that schedule starting. So if you come in here and you put your 2021 season into a fantasy group and have that, the program won't then again create a leaderboard on the first night of racing. It'll see that a leaderboard already exists. So you can do it that way, or you can do a custom date range. If you're just doing one night, you can do a custom date range for one night. That'll be that one night fantasy group, things of that nature. We'll just leave it at this schedule. And then you can also select the classes that you want to apply to that leaderboard. So if you only want a fantasy champion for your modifieds and you don't want a fantasy champion for other classes, just select modifieds here. Pretty self-explanatory stuff. We'll add that. A leaderboard with this combination of settings already exists. So there you can see it won't duplicate things for you. And let me see. I think that was this one right here. Yeah, that's the one that it was. So my 2021 season, fantasy season there, I've got created. After you create it, it'll come to this screen. So this is where you can add your fantasy prizes. I've already got a prize added here, $50 to first place. But if I can add more, you can add as many prizes as you want to a leaderboard for any position that you want in your standings. So you can award however many prizes you want to, however many people you want to. There is a drop down here for prize type. This isn't publicly available. Whatever you select here, it's used on our end for tracking purposes, so we can start to understand A, what the most common fantasy prizes are, and B, what kind of excitement that creates amongst fans, basically by who's playing for those prizes. So trackability for our purposes, title the prize, what you want it to be, what you want fans to see. If you want a description in there, what it's valued at. So if first place got $50, we'll give second place two free tickets for next week. Prize is valued at, I don't know, $40. Maybe you charge $20 for tickets. Perfect. We'll add that. You have to have a description. Add that. So you can see the first prize was cash. Second prize was tickets. That's not publicly available. We'll use it for tracking the dollar amount, whatever else. You can go in and edit the prize if you need to, things of that nature. But that's basically how fantasy prizes work. When your leaderboard is finished, so when your season's all said and done, you can go in and award the prizes here. Because this season isn't completed, I can't actually award anything right now. But basically, what this would allow you to do is notify the winner via email that they've won, and that would start the communication process with you and that person via email. So then you can ask for their address or whatever else. Included groups doesn't have anything here yet because I haven't run any races in this season. But included groups will look just like it does on the points page of season management, where it'll actually show you the individual race nights that go into that fantasy calculation, and then team standings, self-explanatory. You can see who's winning, how many race, what their percentage of correct picks are, how many points they have. You can see who's winning, which is valuable as well. You can send a push notification to let folks know that your season is up and available and open and they can make picks, or let people know what the prizes are. So if you add prizes, send a push notification. Now everybody who's favorited your track in the app will know what the prize is for that season. And if you want to rebuild the leaderboard, you can do that here. Basically, it will, if you rebuild the leaderboard and change the dates around or something like that, this notification is just telling you that the points that they've got will be recalculated. They won't have the same points. It'll be basically a new calculation for them. But that's pretty much MRP Fantasy, in a nutshell, in terms of awarding prizes and things of that nature. This is a fairly new development here at MyRacePass. We introduced fantasy for the first time last year. We've done a lot of rebuilding of it over the off season. We got the prizes put in place just in time for Chili Bowl. One of the things that we think is probably the coolest part of MRP Fantasy is how the drivers have responded to it. We saw drivers at Chili Bowl tweeting out, "Hey, pick me at MRP Fantasy." The drivers don't get anything out of it at all. They just thought it would be cool if somebody picked them. And what that translates to is drivers marketing your events unknowingly, basically. They're tweeting about your shows. They're tweeting about your stuff. They're attracting fans to what you're doing, and they don't get anything out of it, and that's a really cool thing. One other thing about MRP Fantasy that I'll tell you is that we award bonus points if the fan has their location on their phone turned on and their location is near your racetrack. So basically what that's saying is that if you're going to award prizes, you're going to more than likely award them to people that are already supporting you at your racetrack. And we think that's valuable as well. Do we have any questions about fantasy, leaderboards, or prizes before we move on to orbits? Okay. In that case, before I jump into orbits, I want to show you one other thing here. Web management and profiles. If you go to the driver's profiles there, you can actually see the default transponder information. So you can see the transponders that they've used in previous years there, what the default is. Otherwise, in terms of gathering transponder information, I don't know if there's a great way to do that without going to the actual entry list themselves. I'm sure that there's a transponder list in our reports. Let me take that back. If you go to reports, you go to transponder list, you can enter an event date. And you can see what all the transponder numbers were for that date. Let me see if we can do this for an entire year, Gay. And if we can do this for an entire year, that might be the best route to take. But at least this way you can see the transponder list on a nightly basis. And like I said, we'll get that full year. I'll give you a call tomorrow and we can get that figured out for you. So we'll move on here. We'll move on to orbits. Move on to orbits here. We've got, I apologize. I just had to give my 6-year-old son the stare down because he's making too much noise. So the first thing that I want to tell you here as we open up orbits is the first thing that I want to show you is MRP Live. We've got MRP Live is a third application that connects your live timing computer, in this case orbits, to your individual event within MyRacePass Race Management. To get MRP Live, if you're brand new, come down here, download application. Or you can go to getmrp.live, the URL to download it there. You'll end up installing this. This is what MRP Live looks like out of the box. You're going to get asked for a couple of pieces of information here, 4 pieces of information to get MRP Live to work. First, in this box will be the IP address. That's the IP address of the live timing computer that you're using. So because this is about orbits, I'll show you right here. If you open up orbits and you come over here to distribution, what you're looking for is the scoreboard feed. This is the IP address. So for me, it's 192.168.1.120. Let me type that in. And then the port number. Port number is 50,000. It's extremely rare to find an instance in which the port number is not 50,000. It almost always is. If you're doing some weird stuff with scoreboards at your facility, potentially it could be different, but even then, more than likely it'll be 50,000, so we'll keep that in mind. Then what live timing program you're using, whether it's Race Manager or Orbits. Tonight it's Orbits, so I'll use that. And then there's an MRP Live Code. The MRP Live Code comes out of Race Management. Go to the MRP Live tab. Here's the code. We'll copy that, and we'll paste it into here. There we go. There's our code. The assignments path, there's no real reason to change unless you want to have a different folder for every single race night's data. I usually just leave it all the same, but I'm not running, 15 to 20 events a year. You guys are, so you can do what you want there. One thing that I will tell you about MRP Live is that you can't connect to MRP Live in the sandbox. So if you're in your demo or testing environment, it's not going to work for you. You're not going to be able to connect it at all. It has to be in a live environment situation. So I can come into here to your favorite track because that's a development location. That's not live environment data. But if you want to test it, you have to do like a practice night or a test and tune night, throw some transponders on some cars, and then you can send the information to Orbits or Race Manager that way. But you can't test it in Sandbox. So you're going to probably only have 1 or 2 shots to test this. Definitely take advantage of it on your practice nights. So I've gone through here. I've created an entry list of 10 cars. Because Orbits only lets you have 10 cars when you're doing demo mode. I've got 10 transponder numbers listed here, 1001 through 1010, associated with different drivers. I will calculate some lineups here. Okay, my lineups are calculated. What I'll do then in Orbits, come over here to registration. You have to import your groups and runs. Let me actually connect MRP Live first so I'm not doing something dumb here. Okay? So I'm going to hit Get Lineups because that sends lineup information from MRP Live into Orbits. Let me import groups and runs. Import my groups. Open that. Next and finish. And then go to each individual class and import the runs. Select that. Import runs. Okay, there we go. Finish. And then I can come over here to timing. What am I doing wrong? Here we go. Come over here to timing. There we go. So I've got my 10 cars in here. I've got my Orbits demo track here. So let me start this. Well, actually, let me go purple flag first. Purple flag means they're on the track. That's the warm-up flag. Okay. We'll start our simulator, and we're going to go a lot faster than that. That's as fast as we can go. Okay. Green flag. We'll let them go around the track a couple of times here in Orbits on the simulator. I think they got 1 in. And there we go. When the second lap comes across, we'll go perfect. They got 2 laps in. Checkered. Stop. Okay. We'll come back over here to MyRacePass. We go to results. you can see that there's an import here. Last pending race today, right now for the time, heat 1. I click import. There's the entry, or there's the finishing order. That's literally all it takes from a MyRacePass perspective. Once you've checkered flagged the race, make sure you finish the race. And once the race is finished, then it's just a matter of importing that stuff. So I can show you again here. Hit MRP Live. Okay. Obviously, I already imported this information, so that's why it's not letting me. I'll actually have to come back over here. There's no great way to undo this. We're going to restart the timing of the heat, just so I can show you a second time here. So we got, let's see, another lap in. Perfect. Okay. Finish. Stop. You come back to MRP. There you can see it. So you can either click this link or click the MRP Live button. They do the same thing. You click the link, and there is all the information. Shows up for you. No issues at all whatsoever. So we'll save as completed. Now, when you go to create lineups a second time, calculate lineups, line them straight up from the heat race finish. Okay, it's the same cars anyway. Now that I've created lineups again, every time you create lineups, you have to press Get Lineups in MRP Live again. So we'll press Get Lineups. Come back to Orbits. Go to Registration. Okay, our A features are there now. So we'll use our A feature. Jump back over to timing. There's our cars for the A feature. And we can go. With all the snow on the ground here, I got to tell you, I even get excited about watching pretend dots act as though they're race cars. It's been so long since I've seen real race cars. Done with that. Finish the race. Stop the race. We do not want to start the next race, so let's hit OK. And there we can go to results. And again, it's the same process. Last time I clicked the link. This time I'll click the button. You do the same exact thing. Import the information. There's the feature finish order. So we'll save that as completed. That's really all it takes to integrate MRP Live and your live timing computer. Show you a couple of other things that are in here. First off, yeah, you can see the live timing information right here for that race that we just ran. So the live timing information will show up here. This is exactly consistent with what's in the app. If your race has any of these words, hot laps, qualifying, time trials, whatever else, it will automatically switch from the running order view to the best lap view, so you can see the that information as well. That makes it really easy for things like qualifying, whatever else. Fans don't have to go to the app and switch the view. It just switches it automatically for them right there. And then the APIs over here, the URLs that are over here in this broadcast ticker box. If you have somebody like Dirt Vision, you have somebody like Flow or somebody like that, and they are they're broadcasting your race, or any broadcaster broadcasting your race, send them these links. The top link will give them access to the raw live timing data, so they can have the ticker that runs across the top of the screen that shows the running order. The lineup URL will give them the raw lineup data when you send it to when you press Get Lineups, so that they can have their fancy graphic on the screen that has the lineup order for every race. And the results does the exact same thing at the end. When your results are completed, you complete the race, that API URL will give them the results, so they can have that in a fancy graphic on the screen, or do whatever they want with it. It's just giving them the raw data. So that's another good thing to keep in mind there. But that is MRP Live connecting to Orbits. Now, this really isn't a training on Orbits. I I don't personally use orbits at the track that I race at. So if you're looking for information on how to use orbits, I would find their resources online, as I'm not an orbits professional. But that's basically how MyRacePass ties in with orbits. There's a couple of things that could go wrong here, and I want to show you some of those things. If you've got the wrong IP address and you try to connect, you'll eventually time out and get an error message. Eventually. But it won't allow you to connect if you've got the wrong IP address. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. If you're not able to connect at all, make sure you've got the right IP address. If you are able to connect, but you never get any results in MRP Live in the app or in the MRP Live tab, and again, okay, there's our timeout. There's our error that you get the wrong IP address. If I come back here and go to 0, perfect. If you've got the wrong port number over here, it'll allow you to connect, but you'll never see any results or information. You'll never see any live timing in MRP Live. So if you're connected, says you're connected here, you can send the lineups over. You get the lineups on the other side. All of that works, but you just never see any results in the app, and you never get to upload any results on the MRP Live end for results. That's more than likely because your port number is wrong. That's what that usually means. If you are if you are able to connect, but when you press get lineups in orbits or in Race Manager, you never see any information. The information never shows up for you for the groups or the runs, or in Race Manager, the lineups. None of that ever shows up. It's more than likely because you have the wrong application selected. That's what happens in that situation. Application doesn't go through. And then the other thing that could go wrong is this MRP Live Code being sent to the wrong event, basically. And that will behave the exact same way as port number. So if you've got the wrong MRP Live Code, you just won't see any live timing data in the app, and you won't be able to upload any results because it'll be trying to send it to a different event, basically. Every unique event has its own unique MRP Live Code. You'll have to paste a new one in there every night. Once you've got IP address, and once you got port number in there the first time, and more than likely the live timing bubble as well over to Race Manager, that'll never change. That'll always be the same unless you get a brand new computer to do the transponder stuff with. But the code will change every night, event to event. That's what's going to be different for you. And then the assignments path, it's just where the data is going to be saved. You're telling the program where to save the data. I save it in the same default folder every time. Some tracks have a different folder for every individual race night, so they can go back and review that stuff. Really, that's up to you. But by default, it'll just be this assigned folder, and you'll be good to go there. So that's all I have for using MRP Live with Orbits or MyLaps. You guys, do you have any questions that you'd like to put in the chat, or you'd like to take this opportunity to shout out regarding using the live timing computer or something like that? Okay. If no, that's fine. That works. I'm going to open this up now because we're a little bit ahead of schedule here. I thought the orbit stuff would take longer. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, so I'm going to open up the floor to any questions that you have regarding the MyRacePass application at all. With the exception of the with the transponder sheet, I'll make sure I get to that tomorrow. But outside of that, do you guys have any questions regarding MyRacePass or how to use it or anything in the application that you want me to show you in the next 10 to 15 minutes here? Okay. Well, in that case, I'm going to wrap up this first session. We are now officially 11 sessions down for 2021 and 1 to go. That'll be at 7:30. At 7:30, I'm going to run through registrations. I'm going to give you a look at online tickets, some of the settings that exist up here in the upper right-hand corner, like lineups and points and pay schemes and managing classes. I'm also going to show you the Create Payments button and how that interacts with the 1099 report. And we'll look at Westhold as well tonight. So right now we did Orbits. Next time we'll do Westhold. So with that, I'm going to wrap this session up, guys. Yeah, WSOTA code. You guys are diligent with that. WSOTA code tonight will be Iowa, the state of Iowa, IOWA. It's the best state. It's mostly because I live there. And so I appreciate you guys tuning in here. Send me an email if you are a WSOTA track, WSOTA sanctioned, with your name, the name of the racetrack that you're with, and the code Iowa. And then we'll do this again at 7:30. So I appreciate it, everybody. Thank you.